Um, Good afternoon, everyone from Geneva and the WTO. And thank you very much for joining us online for this webinar entitled Trading Goods in the Digital Era, Perspective from Customs. This event is organized by the Market Access Division, and in fact spearheaded by my two colleagues, Irina and Daniela. In fact, it is the third in a series which aims to look at the whole issue of trade in goods in the digital era. My name is Suja Rishikesh Mavroidis. I'm director of the Market Access Division, and I have the great pleasure of moderating today's session. As the title would suggest, as you may have seen, the objective of today's seminar is to really explore on a more granular level, and that's really the expectation, what digital trade looks like from a customs perspective. We will discuss the various technologies such as AI, blockchain, big data, which are all helping to enhance transparency, security, and efficiency in customs operations. Our expert speakers will share their insights on the digital tools and technologies currently being used by customs, focusing on notably three issues. Firstly, the digital technologies themselves, which are being deployed really to streamline trade procedures and look at their impact on facilitating the import, export, and transit of goods. Understanding the practical applications and real-world impact of these technologies is crucial in assessing their effectiveness. Secondly, we hope to explore future trends and developments in the use of digital technologies by customs authorities. This includes perhaps more of a forward-looking discussions on how these technologies can further expedite international trade and what innovations we might be expecting in the coming years. And on this note, I just wanted to draw your attention to the fact that I was reading some news article where they were talking about the AI, the new PC AI, so artificial intelligence personal computers, which is apparently going to change the face of PCs. So these things, and how do customs factor all of these elements when looking at their future operations? Finally, we will address the main challenges that customs authorities have faced in adopting and using these technologies. And perhaps one of the challenges would be really trying to keep up to date with these technologies, which are constantly in a form of renewal and update and upgrade, as we've seen with AI, which is just very difficult to keep up with. So we have a lot of issues to address, and I'm not going to take the floor for much longer, but we are very, very fortunate to have with us a distinguished group of panel speakers. And first of all, I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to them for having taken the time from their extremely busy agenda to spend this 1.5 hours with us. I won't go into detail in terms of their biodata, as you already have that on the flyer and information that's been made available to you. But just a really brief recap, we have Mr. Brightwell Nakambul, who is the Commissioner General of the Eswatini Revenue Service. We have Ms. Wai-Yi Chu, who is Director of the Network Trade Platform, Office of Singapore. We have Mr. Engineer Khalid Hassan Ali Al-Marzouki, who is Director of the Development and Strategic Planning Division at the Abu Dhabi Customs. We have Ms. Nino Jinsharzi, who is Head of the Project Management and Development Division at the IT Center of the Georgian Revenue. And last but not least, we have Mr. Norbert Kuwenhoven, who is the Special Advisor on Strategy and Innovation at the Customs Administration of the Netherlands. So their diverse expertise and experiences, and I must tell you that I have been very impressed. We have been in constant contact with our speakers, and I have been really already, I would say, really learnt a lot from their insights, and I hope that the audience there will be able to also benefit from their knowledge. So with that, I would like to just give maybe a bit of guidance in terms of how I would intend to conduct this session. So we will first have two presentations, then I will open the floor for questions, but they will only be through the chat, and I will try and gather and convey as many of the questions as I can. This will be followed by the next three presentations, and again, a round of questions just focusing on those three presentations, after which I will open the floor for a general discussion and exchange of information. And regretfully, we can't have any sort of oral exchange from the audience, and I apologize for that, but this is really because time is a bit short. And I will also be very, very strict with my speakers, so apologies in advance. They have 10 minutes to make their presentations, and then we will move forward as I have proposed. So let's turn straight away to Mr. Brightwell Nakambule's presentation. Brightwell, you have the floor. Please go ahead. Brightwell, we can't yes, we can't actually hear you. So please go ahead. Yes.
Yes, please confirm that you can see my slides.
Yes, that we can see your slides. Thank you.
Okay. First, thank you very much, Program Director, and good afternoon to the audience. It is an honor for me to be part of this event in presenting our Trader Connect initiative. This is an initiative that is enabled by modern technology, and it is part of our trade facilitation portfolio of projects. When I say our, I mean us as a region, and it is meant to streamline processes, reduce duplications, and ensure resources are used efficiently. It will benefit both traders and all border agencies. So perhaps just starting here to share our ambitions as an organization. Our strategic theme is really to be digitalized, data-driven with our partners being our sister agencies at the border, as well as our neighboring customs administrations as well. As customs at Eswatini, we are working with the Eswatini National Trade Facilitation Committee, which has been empowered by the government to supervise the implementation of the WTO TFA program. This particular project that I'm talking about today automates the exchange of data between customs and trader, and between the trader and the customs administrations. And our goal really is to start making moves towards the smart border. So just at a very high level, the typical flow in cross-border trade is as shown in the slide there. You know, that the transaction is triggered by a purchase order, which is then followed by invoicing and the delivery of the goods. And because this is a cross-border transaction, we will have customs administrations of the exporter and importer country involved. So typically, the goods will be dispatched with the invoice, and then all the necessary documentation for transportation. And either the exporter directly or through the use of clearing agents, they would capture into the customs system the declaration of the goods, and they'll go on to capture as well on the exporter side the declarations. So you'll see that the accessing of the customs administration system will occur twice. Now, with the Trader Connect initiative that we launched with our regional partners, we've introduced the unique consignment reference number. So that means that now the declaration is captured once into the exporter custom system, and then the UCR is then used to pull that declaration into the importer custom system. So you see that the work has been reduced pretty much by 50% there, because the capturing only occurs once. Then with the other importer custom system, clearing agents or brokers would then just fill up those details that are not part of the declaration that has been pulled from the exporter country. This is an initiative that we're working on as a region, and we are working towards having a common data model so that the data that is in the exporter country can seamlessly be pulled into the importer country without having to then go and make up for the shortages. But the ultimate model that we are looking at is the one that we're looking at right now. This is where the exporter does not have to, the exporter or their clearing agents or their brokers, they do not have to log into the custom systems of the exporter country, nor do they have to log into the custom system of the importer country. Instead, we have middleware that is connected directly into the enterprise resource planning system of the exporter. So upon issuance of the invoice and dispatch of the goods, the middleware will then collect the information from the ERP of the exporter and then simultaneously populate the customs system of the exporter country as well as the customs system of the importer country at the same time. And if there are any queries from customs, the queries will be filtered back to the exporter through the ERP. So they do not have to log into the customs system at all. Now, I'm calling this one the advanced model because it is a model that we've been piloting for about 2 years now with one entity, with one trader in the country. And these are the results that have been reported by this trader. Now, he's saying that this has reduced clearing time by 37%. And they're saying that documentary inspections have been reduced by 92%. This trader, from the beginning of the year, they enrolled into our authorized economic operator program. So we can see that really most of the work is done by the system. And because this is a low risk transaction, there's not much time spent at the border. Now, looking forward into the future, we see more and more of our traders enrolling into the advanced model. However, it will require that we harmonize our data model as neighboring countries so that there would be seamless transfer of the data. The very big advantage here is that the source of the declaration is the same system that buyer and seller interact with. Therefore, we see it as a very, very low risk transaction. So we are encouraging our AEOs to enroll into this program so that they don't have to stop at all at the border. So looking at the future, we're looking at a scenario where those that are enrolled on AEO and have adopted this program, their consignments don't stop at all at the border. We are looking at options of installing, number plate recognition, technology, so that the driver would even have to clear customs on their own, just as you would clear, a toll gate. So we're envisaging a situation where they will just not stop at all at the border because they are significantly low risk. The big challenge here is on SMEs. In this country, and perhaps even in the region, not every trader has a sophisticated ERP system that they can use to interface with customs. So we see this as the one big risk that we will need to deal with. The other risk that is there, just lacking in the background, is that much as I said this is low risk, but we do have unscrupulous traders who could collude so that you have buyer and seller collusion with the intention of lowering their customs obligations. So I thank you very much. I trust I have been within the 10 minutes allocated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brightwell. You've done really great. You've actually finished before, which gives me just an opportunity to mention some of the things you said, including a reference to the trade facilitation agreement. It would be remiss of me not to mention that this this very key agreement, which is a WTO agreement. We have a committee on TFA which looks at how TFA implementation is happening in members, and I would just also like to make a mention of our TFA database, where we also have a lot of these experience sharing on digitalization, which is taking place in the committee and which is available for public use and at least for information purposes. I also saw that, thank you so much for covering the future and the challenges, because I think that was also extremely important, and I'm sure we'll come back to that. So with that, and thanking you once again, I'd like to now move to Wai. Are you there? Because it's
Yes.
your turn now.
Right
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Just give me a minute to get the slides up and going. Right, just to confirm, you can see the slides?
Yes, we can. Wai, please go ahead.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. Depends on where you are. I'm Wai from Singapore Customs, and I look after the network trade platform. So in addressing today's topic and theme about technology, I'd just like to say that in Singapore Customs, I think there is a range of applications or range of areas and business use cases where we've applied technology. But for today's 10 minutes, I will be talking about how at the network trade platform, we've used different types of technology, some of it a little bit simpler, some of it a little bit more novel, to create and deliver new value for our interactions with players in the trade ecosystem. So first off, a quick look. This is just a snapshot, a screenshot of the NTP. It's been operational since 2018. So to share some facts and some background, today we have over 6,500 companies amongst the user base, and that's growing. Last year, we supported over 500,000 transactions on the platform, and those transactions have resulted in a total cost savings of over 4 million Singapore dollars for either the companies, mainly for the companies that have been interacting with us, and also On top of the cost savings, we've managed to deliver over 800,000 hours of time savings. And as I go into some of the examples a little bit later on in the slide, you will understand why we've not converted some of these time savings to dollars, because some of it is in lag times, and that's really hard to put a dollar value to. Now, the NTP journey is not a once-off. It is a platform, and as I was saying a minute ago, we were launched in 2018, and progressively over the years since then, we've rolled out additional new services, either through connectivity with like-minded customs authorities, or just looking at how we can better use government data to be able to serve our trade community, our traders, and the rest of the ecosystem. And I will cite a couple of examples along the way in this presentation. But to put it in context, what is the NTP? The NTP aims to be a transformational platform, but at the heart of it, it is always about the efficient flow of goods. And how do we do that? We see ourselves facilitating that through a swift exchange of data. Very similar to some of the examples or some of the challenges that Brightwell just talked about a few minutes ago. In Singapore, for the NTP, we are not doing it alone. We're very fortunate to have both the energies, the attention, as well as the support of our economic agencies, those promoting economic activity in Singapore, as well as our colleagues in the competent authorities that regulate the different areas of trade, such as food imports, for example. So what does the NTP set up to do? We have three focus areas. The first is looking at government-to-government digital connectivity and how we can use that connectivity to exchange data and to facilitate trade. The second is to look more at our domestic interactions with businesses and how we can streamline that, how we can digitalize that and deliver value to all the stakeholders. And the final third focus area is looking at trusted government data and how we can use that to deliver new data services that will help businesses do their business better. So in each of these areas, I will give an example and also then maybe touch a little bit upon the technology that we are using. Some of it's maybe a little bit newer, but some of it is also not new. So in the first area of government-to-government connectivity, today we have a connectivity between our system here in Singapore Customs and the system of China Customs. And that connectivity allows us to exchange preferential certificate of origin and the certificate of non-manipulation digitally. That means if we are issuing the certificate of origin by Singapore Customs, we will send that digitally to China Customs. So what does that do in terms of impact? We eliminate time lag. So today we no longer need traders to collect that document from us, put it in a courier pack, and then wait overnight minimally for that document to arrive in China. And that's direct cost savings that companies can enjoy, as well as time savings. One very valuable impact and outcome of this digital exchange or such digital exchange is our ability to ensure authenticity. And in doing so, customs authority like ourselves, we have then the ability to protect revenue. The third and valuable outcome for traders is it eliminates delays where documents may need to be verified because the authenticity may be in question, or if documents are not complete, if the courier for some reason is delayed. So that it takes out all the friction, I wouldn't say all the friction, but it takes out some of that delays. And in doing so, it would also then facilitate the swift flow of goods. The technology, it's not new and it's not revolutionary. In fact, it's pretty old stuff. We use web services and the files are exchanged in XML format, and we just have agreed message specs. So in terms of deploying technology for Singapore Customs, our primary driver is in zeroing in on the value we create for our stakeholders. Now let me move on to the second focus area in terms of streamlining business to government transactions. For Singapore Customs, for some traders, particularly those operating under certain schemes, they will be required to furnish a banker's guarantee to us. In the past, it was a very paper-based process, but we have since made it digital. And the way we have done it is not just to transform or to transplant, the paper process onto a digital form. What we've done is we've standardized the guarantee text so that there would be no errors and there would not be repeat work or need to check. And then we have created an agreement, a contractual agreement with the issuing financial institutions where they will honor the guarantee, but only transmit the data. And these are the variable data, such as who the applicant is, the amount of the guarantee, the validity period. All the legal text is no longer transmitted because we agree upfront once what it would be. Now, the impact this has had is it allows us to save time, effort, and money for both companies as well as for customs. Similar to the exchange of digital documents with our foreign customs counterparts, it has also allowed us to ensure authenticity because it is being directly transmitted to us by the issuing financial institution. And that's very important because once again, it goes back to supporting our core work, which is protecting revenue. So as you can see, the digitalization has allowed us to serve the companies, deliver benefits to them, but also deliver benefits in terms of allowing us to work in a more efficient and effective manner. Once again, the technology is not anything very exciting. In fact, it's quite boring. We have both a web portal version for financial institutions to interact with us as well as APIs. The data comes in a CSV file, which makes it accessible to everyone, every financial institution, and there's no large investment on their part in terms of integration. The other reason we chose the web portal as one of the options for interaction with the financial institution is because while as customs, we may receive a fairly large number of guarantees every year, some financial institutions may not be issuing large numbers of guarantees to us. And therefore, for them, API integration would not be a cost-effective option, which is also, again, why we provide the portal version. And once again, it's to drive adoption. It is also to make sure that the cost of adoption does not outstrip the benefits to all parties that are involved. And our third focus area, which is to develop data services using trusted government data, we have collaborated with China to introduce a track and trace service to supplement what industry is already doing. So today, container movements can already be made available by quite a number of shipping lines to their clients. What is currently missing is the information relating to that container about declarations and customs clearance. So what we have done is we've worked with China, starting with 2 ports, and we will be expanding that to several more ports. And with the expansion, we will be able to cover close to 3/4 of Singapore's trade with China. It has enabled all players in the ecosystem to have increased visibility. And that increased visibility can then lead to more accountability, but also if a container movement is not progressing as expected, we will be able, our stakeholders and our companies on both sides will be able to know where the bottleneck is and be able to intervene. And those of you who have been involved in cross-border trade where goods are sometimes not moving on time or not arriving on time would have often heard your freight forwarder or your service provider say to you, oh, stuck in customs, stuck in customs. And that's something that you can now see whether it's really stuck in customs or maybe because a permit hasn't even been taken out for that shipment. Quick touch on the technology that we're using. For this, we have co-created a blockchain consortium with China Customs, and it allows us to leverage the unique decentralized and distributed features that are inherent in blockchain. But we also know that using a new technology is not always so straightforward. So we agreed that we would start small. And as I was saying, we started with 2 ports, and then we will be expanding to several more, and that would give us a very healthy coverage of close to 75% of Singapore-China trade. And of course, the ambition is to eventually expand coverage to all of the trade, and we also welcome other like-minded partners to join us, either on the consortium looking at other use cases, or in this endeavor to provide visibility to our stakeholders on both sides of the trade. So with that, let me just round off by saying, when we look at technology and how we approach the adoption of technology, we focus on creating value and making a positive impact. And that impact comes in making sure trade is efficient, that goods can flow faster, and also in lowering risk for our companies, and also lowering risk for ourselves. So with NTP, our definition of success, when we look at how we want to use technology to improve the way we interact with our stakeholders, is to always focus on the stakeholder, always focus on the customer, and focusing on saving them time, effort, and money. So with that, I thank you.
Thank you so much, Wai. That was a lot of information, and just for our audience, just to say that this session is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube subsequently. And we hope to sort of maybe come up with some sort of a summary of the session also, to make sure that, you know, we have sort of taken on board a lot of these insights, and we can share them. I would like to just come back to Brightwell with a question. In fact, we've been receiving several questions, but we've just picked one for each of you, actually, for Brightwell and for Wai. So perhaps, Brightwell, I could turn to you first. And this is a question as follows. How do you intend to overcome the identified challenge relating to small-scale traders, as these form the majority of traders in Africa? So this was the last comment you made about the challenge in relation to SME use of I guess it was middleware. So if you're there, please do take the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Program Director. Thank you, Adam, for the question. Yes, indeed. What I called the advanced model requires that the exporter have a modern ERP system that can then be used to automatically generate the declarations. However, we do have another model, the UCR model, that allows the trader to capture the declaration on one side, and then the system will automatically populate the declaration on the other side. So with this solution, we cut down by 50% the effort required to, to do the customs formalities. So that's how, we're planning to roll it out. So in the immediate term, the UCR will come through for the SMEs who do not have ERPs. Thank you.
Thank you, Brightwell. So this was not the advanced model, but was the second model that you had shown us, which would be more available to for SME use.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Wai, so there's a question for you, which is that could you please elaborate a bit on the content of Certificate of Non-Manipulation and its role in customs clearance?
Sure, thank you for the question. So a certificate of non-manipulation comes into play when there is an FTA and goods are transiting. Okay, maybe let me take that one step back. Where there is an FTA and certain goods with a preferential certificate of origin would be entitled to lower tariffs at destination. Now, the destination customs authority would want to know that if the goods were in transit in particular ports, say Singapore, for example, if they were transshipped in Singapore, that They did not undergo any form of manipulation, no added work, so that they continue to fulfill the original rules of origin, based on the FTA from the origin country. So in this case, Singapore issues a certificate of non-manipulation to cargo that transships in Singapore, because we would then be able to tell with that indeed, and be able to confirm that indeed these goods were just transshipping or transiting in Singapore and did not go through reprocessing, so that the original certificate of origin that states that it fulfills the rules of origin for under the FTA remain valid. Right. So again, it is about the Importing Customs Authority having the assurance that the goods are what it says they are, and that they are able to assess the value and the customs obligations correctly. I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you very much, Wai. I mean, they had spoken about the contents of the certificate, but maybe that's a little bit too detailed at this point. And if we have time, we can maybe come back to that. But I would like to thank you both for having responded to those questions. And please do stay online, because at the end of the session, hopefully we might have additional questions for all of our speakers. So turning now to Engineer Khalid. Are you online?
Thank you, Suja, and WTO team for the great event. Good afternoon from Abu Dhabi Customs, from United Arab Emirates. I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes, we can see the slides and hear you. Thank you.
This is Khalid Al-Marzouqi, the Director of Development and Strategic Planning Division, as well the Director of Project Management Office at Abu Dhabi Customs. It has been my privilege to lead the transformation journey at Abu Dhabi Customs for the last 5 years, including overseeing our digital portfolio. I'm honored today to join this team panel to share our success story with international trade and customs communities. During my presentation, I will provide overview of the strategy, vision, transformation, roadmap of our digital journey. We have different initiatives we've been implementing, which we embedded the artificial intelligence, blockchain, even generative AI within our journey. So if you will allow me, today I will start my presentation by sharing that video. At Abu Dhabi Customs, we embarked on a proactive journey to develop a strategic plan that aligned with the visionary of the leadership of our country. of our country and the Emirates of Abu Dhabi, under the guidance of our Director General, His Excellency Rashid Lahaj Al-Mansouri. We set ambition transformation goals with a clear vision to reach the excellency by achieving the highest possible performance level and implementing the best outcomes standard and proactive worldwide. As you see here, let me just highlight. Our vision is world-class customs authority, where we think that we reached after that transformation, after approximately 5 years of implementing different initiatives. As you see, this is our roadmap. Our story began with a clear vision, defined strategic priorities. As you see, the different strategic priorities through the trade facilitation, revenue management, customs security enhancement, and other support priorities for organization excellence, human capital, digital transformation, where we had outlined a series of well-defined steps and initiatives designed to address our core mandate in different areas. As you see, there is different initiatives with the trade facilitation from 2019 up to 2024, and the revenue management, same thing, going to the security and other aspects. And as you see here, we focus on the digital transformation and the smart technology, where we embedded a lot of different technologies, where I will elaborate today in our session. The couple of initiatives has been already implemented by Abu Dhabi Customs. As you see here, digital transformation results has been implemented in Abu Dhabi Customs in different aspects. We launched Invisible Customs platform with the GCC integration. We have more than 60 integration with local entities. We have our services, all it is in single window in Atlab in UAE. We have all of our customers already integrated by B2G. We have our electronic trade is very effective, as well as we launched the blockchain in 2023. So as you see here, I put some of the example that where Abu Dhabi Customs has been really improved the efficiency of the service. So I will take you through some of the examples in our services and customs where we really developed the time before and after. So before the transformation, you can see the VCC certificate for the vehicle. It was 1.5 day on average. Now it's 0 time, it's automated. Before we had around 200 visits in a day in our customer happiness. Now we have less than 5 minutes, less than 5 visits in a day in our custom happiness center because of our automation, all of our services. However, even the visits now less than 5, it is just about just asking or just for asking different just inquiry, not applying for the service, because all of our service is online 100%. The refund deposit before is approximately 48 hours. Now is 0 time, is automated. And the other services, as you see, it was 24, now is 0 time. Cash declaration 3 to 2 minutes. Average time for approval by the OGAs, the other government authorities, it is 20, reached to 28 minutes. Before it was approximately 3 hours. The customs inspection time, it reduced to approximately 15.87 minutes. The average time for the customer journey at the airport is less than 1 minute, where the target is 5 minutes. As well as we automated the customs entry certificate and the customs seals, where it is 0 minute. So here I will elaborate more about the invisible customs. Customs leadership aims to develop its unique model of an invisible customs and ecosystem by adopting the new emerging technologies. So here, as you see, the invisible customs platform focused in different area and elaborate what do we mean of invisible customs. So here one of the example where we worked out with one of our biggest express courier here in UAE in Abu Dhabi. So I will take you through that journey there where we developed the integration and we eliminate some of customs required documents in order to enhance that process. So if you see here before, our partner employee in the express courier used to go to his system and then go to customs systems. So what we did after we did the integration, B2G integration, and we eliminate some of the documents required from customs, that our partner use only his system without going to Abu Dhabi customs systems. So what is the benefit of that? Before, the average of transaction time, it used to be 20 minutes. After we implemented that initiative, is less than 1 minute. So when we calculated more than 11,000 declaration, it used to take 1.7 day on average, but after implementing that initiative, it took less than 5 minutes, where we see huge increase in the performance, as well as the customer complaint clearance was 18% to the customer, our express courier company. Now it's reduced to less than 0.1 minute. This is one of the initiatives where we applied the invisible customs. We'll try to go faster because of the time. Also, as well, we launched the pre-arrived clearance with our neighbor country, where the pre-arrived declaration, where we have we monitor all the capacity and crossing management, and for sure this is a paperless. The number of eligible users more than 30,000, the number of permits more than 1 million. So here is the steps where we went through it, from issuing the bill of lading, applying the border cross permit, arriving within 3 hours. Then the driver will direct by Abu Dhabi Customs officer to the next step based on the advanced analytical of the bill lading. Then the shipment will go through Abu Dhabi Customs procedure to verify the compliancy. After that, Abu Dhabi Customs officer will update the system and confirm the exit of the shipment. Where after we applied that initiative with our neighbor country, we reached 100% pre-clearance at that border. So this significant change and the huge impact happened in our border with our neighbor country, and we have now a plan with other countries where we have border with them in other sites. And Abu Dhabi Customs reached in general with all the ports, sea and port and land port, approximately 70% of the pre-clearance. So here, just to give you a hint there, where Abu Dhabi Customs also one of the initiatives that we applied about the trade chain platform. As you see that we already connected with some of the blockchain platforms. We developed the trade chain platform where we are always welcoming any company, any private sector to join our platform to get benefit for both sides, where all of these platforms is integrated with our customs system in order to make sure that we have a less time and the right flow of the data in the systems. So that's in general. The future belongs to those who's prepared for it today. So we emphasize to everyone to plan for coming months and coming years, to have a right clear roadmap where they can implement the latest technologies embedded with the artificial intelligence, embedded with different technologies, advanced technology, in order to ease the trade at the border. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Engineer Khalid, and certainly took away also the the fact that you had started by saying, the strategic plan is very important before one launches into such a project. And also, your use of the term invisible customs. I've heard, obviously invisible customs, but smart customs also. So a lot of these terms going in the same direction of trying to ensure, trade moves seamlessly. And that's another one, seamless customs. Goods move seamlessly, but still respecting the regulations as necessary. Thank you very much for that. And we now turn to Nino. Nino, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. Greetings from very sunny Georgia to all of you. My name is Nino Cincaradze, and it's my great honor to stand before you today as the head of the project management and development division of the ID Center of Georgia Revenue Service. It's a privilege to join such a distinguished assembly of experts and leaders at this important event. In the era of rapid technology evolution, our role as innovators and administrators is more critical than ever. The theme of our webinar, Trading Goods in Digital Era, highlights the transformative potential of digital technologies in our field. By leveraging AI and digital tools, we can revolutionize information management, enhance compliance, and provide faster and more efficient services. So next slide, please. I will first of all start talking about our strategic vision of GRS, which is Georgia Revenue Service. I will share the insights into the strategic vision of our service for digitalization. Our focus is on enhancing compliance, automating processes, and improving international cooperation. We are dedicated to facilitate trade in implementing international standards to ensure data-driven decision-making and customer-centric services. Public-private partnership and e-governance initiatives are crucial to our strategy as well. Next slide, please. Of course, we have many different ongoing projects in our tax and customs administration. And actually, I'm coming from customs, so the customs projects are very important for me personally. But I will today just focus on one of them, one of the projects which is very important and innovative, if I may say so. And let's dig a little bit deeper inside of this project, and I'll bring some details to you. So we have prioritized automating and digitalizing various customs processes using robotics and AI technology. This approach helps us avoid dedicating human resources to repetitive tasks that do not require some kind of like special intellectual interventions. So this has liberated our employees from time-consuming routines, mitigated human errors, and enhanced service quality, of course, ensuring more efficient and accurate service delivery. So right now, employees are redirected towards more critical processes and more critical tasks for customs administration. So while we are talking about this project, I should mention that it has really many kind of branches, but I will focus on 5 of them, the 5 processes where we decided to use this robotic technology to automate the processes. And then I will show you some kind of little animations to like more clearly show you what it really does and how these robots are involved in the process right now, and how they are changing the customs officers in some of the processes. So with these 5 procedures, we started with 2 of them, and then as we identified that these RPA-like technologies which we are using were fine, and we could progress and we could improve using those technologies in different directions, we added the 3 additional processes to the project. So we started from the customs declaration process, which means that we are right now oriented on the export declarations. So it means that some of the export declarations right now are filled by the robots, because in Georgia, we have the different kind of possibilities how the customs declarations might be submitted to the customs offices. And one of them is that the declarants might provide some documentation. The company's representatives might provide the documentation, and the customs officers are helping them to fill in the declaration. And in this process, we added the robots right now, and instead of customs officers, the robots are helping right now to our exporters to fill in the export declarations. Another process where we use the AI technology and like machine learning robots, we used it for the separate different kind of risk management channels, and one of them is the yellow channel goods, which means that sometimes when the goods are like processed, right, the customs declaration is processed and the goods are placed under the yellow channel, which means that the taxes should be paid before the release of the goods. In this process, already the robots will manage some of the procedures and formalities, and there is no need already of involvement of the human resources and our customs officers, of course. And one of also important process where we used this kind of AI solutions is for the ending, like the closing transit declarations and transit movements, automatization of the movements between the 2 customs, some kind of checkpoints of the goods, and closing all the procedures between those 2 checkpoints, and also issuance of the certificates of origin. And I will show some kind of like the animations for the declarations and the risk management channels later. Can you proceed for the next slide, please? Thank you. Our implementation of technologies like RPA and OCR has shown remarkable results. For example, the time required for the customs declaration for export has been reduced from 30 minutes to 3 minutes per declaration right now. Similarly, for the processes for issuing certificates of origin now takes only 1.5 minutes compared to the previous 10 minutes. These changes have led to significant annual savings in working hours and have enable 24/7 services availability without additional cost. You will also see for the yellow some kind of yellow channel cases, then that we have totally automated this system. So right now there is no human involvement at all. And I should definitely mention that everything that we made is thanks to our donors and our distinguished partners from ADB and EBRD, that they helped us. They were sure that we can succeed in this project, and they did a great job for somehow supporting this process. And the process was outsourced, and the Georgian company Ceptos is making even right now, because we are still developing some of the processes using those technologies. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is the first animation, as I have promised. So we started the automatization of the process while the goods are placed under yellow channel, which means that the goods should be released after the payment of the taxes. So before, if the taxpayer should first of all had the obligation to go to the customs office, take some kind of documentation from there, go to the bank, stay in the queue there, and go pay all these taxes and come back to the customs office. We started the exchange of information between the bank and customs offices, and we are receiving this information before the robotics, right? We were receiving this information, customs officers were checking it, and the goods were released afterwards. After, can we move to the next slide, please? After implementation of this project, so the goods, when they come to the border, and they are placed under the yellow channel. The taxes can be paid already online, of course. This information is received not by the revenue service like the customs officers, but by the robots, the system. And then the robot is checking whether everything is fine and the taxes are really paid, and then the goods are released directly from the border. So there is no need of the contact with the customs officers and customs officers. Thank you. Next slide, please. And next slide, you can see the process of the export declaration filling. So here we have this taxpayer who submitted the declaration to the Georgia Revenue Service. The robot receives this information. Robot reads the scanned documents, like some kind of like commercial documents and transfer documents, extracts the data from the documentation, puts it to the declaration, and sends back to the declarant. And then the declaration can be already registered. So this process is also done mostly by the robotic technologies for the particular goods. We have, of course, selected some of the goods which are very sensitive for Georgia, while we are, of course, promoting export and helping our exporters to export some of the goods from Georgia. For example, Georgia is well known for its wine, and wine was one of the first products where we tested this project, if that really works or not. So we can move to the next slide, please. And we will have this kind of physical robots as well. So the taxpayers who prefer to come to the customs offices, they will have the possibility to already scan the documentation directly to the customs offices to this robot, and the process will be very similar to what you saw previously. Next slide, please. So these are the completed tasks. I will speak a little bit on the next slide, please, and I will cover that part as well. So what we did, next slide, please, and I will talk about the challenges because that's very important to highlight, because sometimes and even it was in our case as well, when we started working on the case, it was so shiny and we were so excited to start and dig deeper. But then in the process, we identified that it's not so easy to all.
Nino, we've lost you there.
Sorry?
Back.
Okay?
You're back now. Yep.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. So, so while we're talking about the challenges, from the beginning, it was like very shiny. We were thinking that, okay, everything will be automated, that we will not have the possibility to, there will be no need to involve the customs officers at all, and so on. However, our recommendation is, while we already are talking from the from experience, right? While selecting the technology, it is very important to, first of all, learn very well what this technology actually can do, because sometimes we are just getting these technologies which is available on the market. So that was like RPA and OCR technologies which was available, and then we identified that it's not so capable that we were thinking about, right? So that actually is a dominant principle. It then was some kind of like reason why we needed to develop some additional some kind of applications and additional platforms where our customs officers still need to go to the declarations, see the documentation, the scanned documentation, and compare the extracted data to the real documentation. So that is some kind of challenges which we identified, and that was like in the process of the project, we identified the need of this kind of UI platform, which to validate some of the very critical some of the information, such as, for example, HS codes or custom seals, etc., which should be definitely like the stamps, for example, right? That should be validated that everything is okay with this information and with this data, because sometimes these technologies are not so advanced and not so capable to totally eliminate the need of the involvement of the customs officers. So that was the one thing. Another thing is, of course, the legal challenges, because right now the robots are like working as the customs officers. So we have created separate user usernames and passwords for the robots, etc. So as they are acting as a customs officers, there is some kind of challenges from the legal point of view, which we have eliminated, of course, with the specific changes, and that should be also taken into account while making these kind of rearrangements and re-engineering of the processes. And the other kind of some of the small challenges which we already overcome, and of course I see that it's I'm already out of my time, so I'll be happy to discuss all of the changes, like the challenges. One thing, one of the also very important challenge which I really want to highlight here is the need of standardized documentation. That's absolutely one of the things which we'll definitely advocate. The standardized document forms and like developed modular software architecture to enhance like reliability of the system. While we are talking about the standardization of the documents, we have very good some kind of conventions and tools, international tools, which provide very standard like forms of the, for example, invoices or the transfer documentation, etc. So if we will work together with all the representatives of the customs, sit together and agree that we will use this standardized form, it will be much easier for the other administrations as well to then use this OCR technology or RPA technology and extract the data from the scanned documentation. But the future, of course, is not the scanned documentation, but of course, we are looking forward to already go to the digital data, not the scanned and electronic documentation, but already receive some digital data from the private sector, and we are right now working on these things to also eliminate using of electronic documentation in these processes at all and move to the digital data exchange between the public and private sectors. So that was all from my side. Thank you for your attention, and of course I'll be ready to answer to all of your questions today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nino. Very fascinating with the robotics at this point. I hadn't seen that so far, so thank you for that. And certainly, last but not least, I'd like to turn the floor to Norbert. And thank you very much for being so patient. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. Good day, everybody. I'm going to talk a bit about the customs of the Netherlands. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. So as you can see on this map, the Netherlands is a very small country in the center of all those circles, which has a specificity. And we are a small country, but we have a port, Rotterdam, big port, and an airport, Schiphol. And due to our location, within 24 hours driving, if you take a car, within 24 hours, you can reach 500 million customers. So 500 million consumers who rely on goods, and 30% of those goods come in through the Netherlands. So we have a huge inflow of goods. Actually, we have in 2023 800 million shipments annually coming into the Netherlands, and as a customs we have to collect the duties. We have to protect the citizens by having dangerous goods, the economy, protect the economy, protecting them from having falsified, fraudulent goods. And at the same time, we have to facilitate trade. We cannot open every box to see what's inside. So we have a real volume challenge. And I mentioned 800 million shipments already for this year due to the growth of e-commerce mostly. We're now already at 1,200 million shipments a year. And I don't say 1.2 billion because that's the same number. That's too big to handle for me. So, but a lot. So next slide, please. So we have we have to work on this haystack, as I call it, of shipments. And what we do, we group it into a number of layers. So first we pick out, and you see on this picture from the left-hand side, goods coming in through a filter and then going into a green, a blue, and a yellow. That's our colors. So the green we take out of the haystack because they are trusted traders, trusted importers, authorized economic operators. So we have a different risk regime for those. We can relax a little bit. We have a yellow stream, a yellow group, where we even know more about the whole supply chain, so farm to fork, that we can even be more relaxed. And we have a group left, the blue stream, where we don't know a lot, where they're first-time importers, or they are importers with a bad track record. We have to pay more attention to. So that's how we split the haystack. And at the entry point of that haystack, we do automated detection. We have an extra lock on the door. So we call this a risk, we combine it with a risk-based approach. So we have every year, we check which risks, as we call them, are there. So a risk of price dumping, a risk of importing fraudulent Nike shoes, fake Nike shoes, a risk of all kinds of risks. And for each risk, we define and we try to define a method to fight that risk. Mostly because we cannot open every package, we work with data analysis. So for each risk, we try to find which data elements are an indicator of that such a risk occurs. And if we have this data combination, we stop the goods and open the container or the box or whatever. This risk-based approach works very well. On the side, we have statistic checks, random checks to check if our risk-based approach is covering all the risks, so that we have different risks which are coming into our country. And that's our model. And you can imagine it's a complicated model with thousands of risk rules, business rules, which we apply on the data. And they're used to select the suspicious packages. But with 1.2 billion packages, we need automation. So technology is a big thing. Next slide, please. Technology is a big thing, and we rely on automated processes. For that, I'm going to talk a little bit about a few of those, about the AI, the buzzword, but we definitely use AI and we rely on AI, and we really build on that for the future. So this first triangle you saw, the automated detection. Auto detection is a word we use. There's two parts, two technologies which I'm going to talk about: the image recognition and the anomaly detection. So next slide, please. Image recognition. So ocean containers for us, we have a lot of them, and we have to recognize the goods for fiscal. Is it really tomatoes on board? Is it really bananas? Is it really? And the other thing is there other stuff smuggled? Cocaine, weapons, what have you. So what we do, we X-ray scan the containers, and then we train image recognition software, AI software, with machine learning to recognize, for example, cocaine in the container. For that, it's like training software. This is a cat, this is not a cat, this is a cat, this is not a cat. And if you have shown enough pictures to the software, at some point it can recognize a cat from a dog or from a sheep. That's what we do. So we look for the containers with cocaine smuggled on board, the X-ray scans, we keep them, or we collect them from other countries, we share, and we train the software. And we have image recognition software, which can, as you see in the example, can see if there's something inside the normal cargo which is deviating and looks like cocaine, for example. So we have different algorithms developed, machine learning software trained for different risks. Cocaine is one, weapon is another one, etc. And we are now working to increase our scanning capabilities so that we can scan 100% of the containers. And then algorithm select which are the, let's say, 100 most suspicious, so that we can use the video analyst capability that we have. The capacity is limited there, let's say 100 persons, that we can optimally feed them with the suspicious containers and not first select containers that are suspicious from the data and scan only a few and then give those to the video analyst. So this, we're working on that to increase our scanning capacities. So that's about ocean containers. Next slide, please. A similar challenge we have with postal packages. This is more export, where the e-commerce is flying, and unfortunately, this is also used for exporting illegal stuff. For example, ecstasy pills, so MDMA pills, which are, I'm sorry to say, are also produced in the Netherlands, my home country. And we want to catch all of them before they leave the country. They're sent out by post. A postal package, think of a big box, a house movement box, not an envelope per se. But so what we do, we trained algorithms to recognize pills in containers, in a postal package containers. So think of moving house boxes. Can you show the next slide, please? So this is an example of what an X-ray scan analysis looks. We have looked at a box, and it detects pills in blisters in an envelope, and it gives a probability score of 79%. Here's pills, or 34%. And what we do, we work with the postal company or the express company, the carrier, who also scan packages for different use. They scan for explosive detection. They don't want to have explosives in their airplanes. So we add another layer. We scan for pills or other illegal stuff, which is not allowed to export. And that combination is very strong. Next slide, please. So that was the machine learning AI, the image recognition, which we can also apply on photos and which is growing and growing. The other AI, the other part of AI which we are using is anomaly detection on data. So, for example, if we have a risk, I give you one example, price dumping on textiles. We look at all the data from t-shirt imports from a country, and then the machine kind of calculates a kind of an average price product model and pattern, and we can ask, give us the 10 most deviating shipments, and then we can inspect those. So that is the way we use anomaly detections. It's the anomalies that indicate suspicious cargo, and we can do that for specific risks on goods. We can also use it for specific actors. Give me the 15 most deviating shipments from that and that company, because we don't trust them completely, or we just want to check them. We can look at specific destinations, specific origins. If it's about import, specific origins where we suspect pill factories, for example, we could give us the most deviating imports, and that's how we select. That's how we select our controls, and how we make the haystack handleable for us. Next slide, please. AI, we want to do much more with AI. Think of communication with traders, with the supply chain. Think of ad hoc searching in data, asking questions. Is for this company, has the product stream changed recently? All kinds of questions. Can you give us the average, this or that? We have actually, we're experimenting with that. We use it for, so now we have 40-year customs employees. That's a lot of them, 40, 50 years even. They know everything. We think in the future we have shorter employment cycles, 4 years, 5 years, maybe another round of 5 years. So we need to help the knowledge to be better accessible. So, and there we think the ChatGPT type of solution can help somebody who's shorter in the job, a customs officer, ask questions. How should I check this? How can I recognize a false T-shirt? That type of things, we think there can be a lot of support. But that is still new. We're at this moment warned by the government, the political leadership, that we have to be very careful. That is very sensitive. The use of AI, that ChatGPT, so Gen AI, generative AI, is kind of experiment, but don't implement fully yet until you're completely sure it's safe and secure. Issues, last slide, that we have, always the information position. In order to make the correct selection with our limited control, huge but limited control capacity, we need to have information, and the more data, the better the quality of the data, the better we can do that. So information position is an everlasting issue. Training data to train our machine learning algorithms. We don't have thousands of containers with drugs. We don't have thousands of specific cases, so we need to collaborate with others to collect the right training data to feed. This is a cat, this is not a cat. All kind of smuggle or all kind of fraud schemes, we need to have X-ray photos for that. Our IT capabilities, that's an issue, connecting data, X-ray scans, analyzing them, deploying them, upgrading them. That's a challenge in itself. Political issues, we want to go faster than our political leadership. We have to be very thorough with our explanations of explainable AI. Legal issues, the robot came in the previous presentation. The human needs to be in the loop. If a machine makes a selection, the legalities around that are an issue. Data ownership, all kind of stuff. The human touch, being for our employees to get a statement from a machine. This you have to inspect, don't look at that. You have to be careful how you frame that and how you guide that. And the mindset of the employees, data, statistics, analytics, that's important, and we work on that. So it's a very inside-out story. It's much about what we're doing to make the haystack smaller. I could give another presentation on how we facilitate, how we communicate with the trade. I won't do that now. But we think if we have if we reduce the number of false positives, if we come in and we do an inspection, there is a fraud, otherwise we wouldn't come in. That is already our first job in terms of facilitating and making everything data supported, keeps the port flowing. So that's why we pay so much attention to automated risk assessment and risk selection. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Norbert. That was truly fascinating, and I think there are some questions that are coming your way, but I would like to just pick on one or two questions, and we've had a number, and I'm unfortunately not in a position to ask all those questions, but perhaps going back to Engineer Khalid, and we've heard a lot about it just from Norbert, but one of the questions that was asked of you, and I guess related to Abu Dhabi Customs, is what role does AI play in improving customs risk assessment and compliance checks? So if you're there, Engineer Khalid, be nice to come online. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for that questions. Yes, actually, in Abu Dhabi Customs, we started implementing the AI and starting to utilize and use the Gen AI, as my colleague just mentioned, regarding having a right environment, first of all, before you go to the generative AI. Actually, we started having use cases in the post audit in the PCA, how we could utilize the generative AI in the PCA, as well as feeding the risk engine. The risk engine is the PCA and the risk engine. And the risk engine is very important that we have a right connection between them. After we have the right outcomes from the PCA, we feed the risk engine, as well as we started recently upgrading our risk management engine with the advanced risk management engine, where it includes the AI for having and targeting different data rather than the normal targeting system which we had it before. Now we have the advanced system where we embedded the AI from different sources, actually in-house and out from outside of customs itself, with our different integration from different security departments that we analyze the data, and we use the AI in order to have a right tackle of our shipment targeting. So this is in general where we could elaborate. We have other areas. Actually, we utilize the AI, but here where maybe I could answer your question about it.
Thank you very much, Engineer Khalid. I think that gave a very good answer. Now, turning to you, Nino, there was a question, and I think Norbert actually touched upon it in his last slide. Could you elaborate on the national laws that need to be updated with regard to the use of robots?
Yes, thank you for the question. Of course, as I mentioned, one of the challenges while talking about the implementation of the robotics technology was from the legal point of view, the legislation that needed to be updated. But it really depends on the technology which will be used in the different projects. In our case, one of the challenges which we faced was that actually we tried to replace like the customs officers. Actually, the tasks that the customs officers are doing manually to replace them by the robotics technology, and that's why that was some kind of challenges in our legislation. One of the reasons for that was that like the Georgian legislation is very detailed, of course. So our legislation, and we are looking forward, we have implemented all the EU standards, and we one of the things that while we are talking about the legal changes with the customs procedures and formalities, we're always looking on the European standards in European legislation. Our customs code of Georgia is totally like in line with the EU Union Customs Code. So that was not a big challenge on that kind of level. However, after this level of the law, really, we have these instructions, right, which are adopted by the different ministers of the finance or our service, etc. So for these particular instructions, which are very, very detailed, where we have these indications that some of the procedures are done by the customs officers, right? So, for example, the seals should be checked by the customs officers, etc. So these kind of very small details were needed to be changed. That already the system will do that, or the robotics technology will do that, or the particular some kind of specific users will do that, and not the customs officer. So that was the one of the thing while we are talking about the legal changes on the instructions level. However, another thing is that I mentioned very quickly, but I will highlight it one more time here, that in the process of implementation these robotic technologies in the different customs procedures, As far we are using this OCR technology where it is a need to read the documentation, scan this documentation, and extract the data from them. And we're talking about the commercial documents such as invoices and contracts, etc. We're talking about the transfer documentation such as CMR, etc. So we identified also the need of implementation of the international instruments, which is provided, for example, by the UN for the commercial documents, or by the different kind of conventions for the transfer documentation, which provides the standardized forms of these really the key documentation which is used by the supply chain actually for the transshipment of the goods between the countries. And if we will somehow promote this, we are right now working on the implementation of the accession to some of the conventions, if that's a need, or implementation of these instruments which are open to be implemented for the member states, etc. So we started very active communication and cooperation with the public and private sector and international organizations in order to implement all the instruments. Because if we will go to the standardization of these forms and will collaborate, it will definitely make easier processing all this documentation and ensuring the compatibility of the data. Because right now, one of the main challenges was to read the documentation, to identify from which data should be extracted, from which fields, and where to find the specific field in those documentation. So if we will work on this direction, and I really somehow advocate this in all of the platforms where we have the possibility to encourage our partner countries to get to those international instruments, like agreements. There are some kind of international tools which are provided by the international organizations to implement and make sure that the documentation will be standardized and unified. And then, of course, for the other countries as well, implementation of this kind of OCR technology or RPA technology will be much easier. So we already take a little like different steps in this direction, and we hope that it will simplify our work and future developments and the implementation of this project for the other procedures as well. So that was.
Thanks
If that
very
answers
much,
the
Nino,
question.
for that very, very comprehensive answer. And, you know, we actually are out of time already, so it's 2:31, but I would like to give the last word to Norbert, who was very patient, waiting till the end. And in fact, Norbert, if I might ask you to answer just these two questions very briefly. What is the success rate in detecting, I would say, problematic goods in cargo C mode? So what is the success rate in such identification? And the second question was, can AI be applicable to customs tariff classification and customs valuation? So those were the two questions.
Yeah, okay, clear. Well, we calculate per risk. So if we have a risk, for example, pills in postal packages, we train an algorithm for that and to detect that risk. And for that algorithm, for example, the success rate is very high, it's 90%. So the accuracy is very high, false positives are very low. But that algorithm does not detect a bomb in a package. We have a different algorithm for that. So for each risk, we develop an algorithm, and per algorithm, we calculate the effectiveness. But these can be very high, and the more you train, and the more photos you have to train the algorithm, the better it becomes. That's a short answer to your first question. The second answer is HS code, so tariff classification. AI can really help, even with photos, even with pictures of the goods. It's already 90% rate order of magnitude to detect, how you say that, to make the HS code. But if it's an iPhone 12 or 13, that might be difficult to see from a picture. So then you would need additional data. But if you made an X-ray scan, so it depends on how much you want to how much data you want to collect, physical data, declaration data, before you set the HS code. But you can get very close. Valuation, I don't know. I think it's there's in Holland there's a law, or in the EU I should say, how to calculate the customs value. So it's very specified. So I think you can go a long way. You can come very far. You have to detect insurance, transport costs, well, yes or no, including in the value. That type of rules there are. But for the EU law, it could be done. But I haven't seen, to be honest, solutions for that yet. So I think these are things in the making, and we'll see how accurate they go. And maybe first they will be supporting, you can, and 90% advice, and you do the human touch, the last 10%, you make a double check. And if you have a company which always ships cucumbers, then if there's a shipment and you don't need a very precise one to see, hey, this is cucumbers again. If it's a company who every time ships something else, then it's more difficult. So it doesn't have to be 100% accurate to be very useful. I could talk more, but for the time's sake, I'll leave there.
Thanks very much, Norbert. Actually, at the WTO, we do have a customs valuation agreement, so that's probably what you're implementing, and we have certain methodologies, but it would be very interesting to see if AI could be used for such a purpose, because it can get quite complicated in certain parts of the world to be able to value some of the goods that are coming through. And, WCO is also doing a lot of work on that in terms of the technical aspects. How do you value secondhand goods, and what kind of, what value do you attribute in specific cases? So it's a very interesting field where I think perhaps AI could come in handy in the future. So with those words, I'm obviously not going to sum up anything, but I would like to take this moment to say a huge thank you to our, in fact, really fantastic panelists. They were really, I learned so much, and in fact, I'm still processing the information. It was really amazing, and also I think getting this information from the various regions was very helpful, and it was an incredibly rich session. So I want to thank all of you panelists, and for having stayed the full session also. And most importantly, I want to thank our audience, because you really have put forward a number of questions, and you really participated by staying online, frankly, and that was very good of you and kind of you. And it just actually demonstrates how much interest this subject has, and will continue to have, I think, for some time on, because I think we will never be able to get a complete handle on digitalization, because it's just moving too quickly in this world. But to the panelists, really a round of applause from all of us here. I mean, it's really just us, but really thank you so much. It was super to have you on board. And please do, we will try and compile a number of these questions and send them to you. And if you have a moment, it would be great if you can answer them. But there are quite a number. And I know that Norbert and Bright will have been answering a few on chat. So thank you for that. But we will try and see what we can do in respect of getting some of those responses to those questions. And once again, thank you so much. And from Geneva, anyway, have a lovely afternoon and a nice day.